Hi guys, thanks for coming along today to the Ellerslie Flower Show, and you're here to tell us all about a project you've got started out at Prebbleton, I believe, not far from Christchurch.
That's right.
That's right?
That's right. It's called the Prebbleton Nature Park.
Right.
It's the restoration of an old gravel pit, and it's now planted with local native plants. It's 2.6 hectares of area.
Right. So it's actually an old gravel pit?
It is, yep.
So there's no soil?
There's soil, but it's river gravel.
Right, so it must be quite a tough site. How's it been going?
It's been a really tough project, yes, in ways, to establish plants.
Right. And when did you start it?
2004 was the first planting, 2004 was the first planting in September.
Right.
We had a big open day.
Right.
That was our first planting. We planted 2,000 plants that particular time.
Oh, good.
Yes.
That sounds
a lot
good.
of the public came along. We
right.
had a sausage sizzle and enticed everybody along.
Right, yeah.
Had a good working day that day.
Right. So you're getting good support from the community then?
Not really so much now. We have had good support, but they can see it as now getting established. But we have a regular small crew that come along on a regular basis.
It's often the way, isn't it? That planting's popular, but weeding's not quite so popular.
No.
Yes.
Spreading the mulch is less popular.
Yes, indeed. And how far away is it from Christchurch? I actually don't personally know.
It's in Prebbleton, more or less. It's just on the south side, on the Lincoln side. Opposite the cemetery.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, you'll see the signs now. We've got signage in the car park, so it's fairly recognisable.
Right. Who administers it? Is it a city council reserve? Or?
It's a joint project of the Selwyn District Council, the Prebbleton Community Association.
Right.
I actually oversee it. I'm the landscape architect for the project.
Right.
So I've designed it, and I took over as project manager as well in 2005.
Right.
I should also say that the volunteers obviously are a really huge part of the project.
Yes,
they've made it what it is.
And you get a few turning up regular, do you?
I think we've had about 20 on the list at times, but we have a few open days. We have working bees every month on the first weekend of the month.
Right.
And it's usually a handful turn up depending on the
weather.
Saturday or the Sunday, it depends on the weather.
Right, okay. Yes, weather.
Yes. The regulars try to work, we work most weather.
You do? Yeah, hardy souls.
They certainly do.
And how did it start? What was sort of the prime mover of the project?
It started probably 8 years ago.
Right.
Michelle Fry actually started it off. She used to live next door to this gravel pit.
Right.
She was having a look around one day. She stumbled through the fence and found this, eyesore actually.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a local joke because it's so full of weeds and rubbish and sheep.
People have been tipping their rubbish in it.
It's actually been used as a council dump at times. So there are old roads and car bodies and all sorts of things under the
really
soil.
Nasty, any sort of toxic?
Well, we really hope not.
No.
Yeah. And she actually started doing research when she found this place. She could see the potential of the site. She looked at the feasibility of turning it into a public park and a nature reserve.
Right.
So she's used it as part of her master's project, which is great because she did a lot of background research.
Yeah, that's handy. And is she still involved? Or?
She's had to go off and do other things now, pursue her career.
Right.
I should probably mention that she started doing community days, and that's how the project got known by the locals, and that's probably how the first public got involved way back then.
Yeah, and once something starts happening, people start noticing and getting a bit more curious, don't they? A few trees start going in and they know that something's going on.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes, it's very much admired now by the residents of Prebbleton. They can now see the benefits of it and how it's been developed, and it's very much admired. People comment on it all the time, how well it's developed.
Yeah.
And that's worked well for the council too, because they funded us at quite a low level to begin with. But now they can see something's really happening.
Right.
We've got more money.
More money?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What are you going to spend the money on? More planting, or is it a staged project? Or?
It's been staged. The planting's been staged over the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
which has been brilliant actually, because it's meant that it's been manageable.
Right.
The volunteers, because we've had so much volunteer labour, they've been able to focus on a bit at a time and be really effective.
Yeah, and get it done properly before you take on any more.
That's right. Yeah, it could have been a disaster otherwise.
Yeah. So it's Selwyn District that are providing all of the funding for it, or
all the money's coming from them from reserve
Right.
contribution funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, I mean, the volunteers have probably contributed the equivalent of half that money, which is
Right.
quite considerable.
Yeah. In hours.
In hours,
labour.
yeah.
What have you put in? What plants are growing there? What have failed miserably and what's done really well?
Failures have been, I think, some of the Alerias haven't been that great actually. Some of the more palatable species have been eaten,
Yes.
although they've managed to survive, like the Coprosmas.
Right.
What else has failed? The wineberries didn't go at all.
Right.
But a lot of the more hardy things. We started with the tussocks, flax, toi, pittosporums, peaveys, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
cabbage trees, and then came in with a few more woodland type species
Once they were established.
once they were established.
Yeah.
So we had the shelter.
And you just put up with the grazing, or there was nothing you could afford
Rabbit
to do?
grazing, do you
Yeah.
mean?
Or did
We've
you
been controlling
hire a dog
rabbits.
and get it guarded or something?
No, we thought about shooting them, but no, not really. It's
No.
too close to
Yes.
houses.
Just upset.
We've actually been controlling them,
Oh, you
controlling rabbits with bait.
have? Oh, have you?
Yeah, we've just been quite careful about putting signs out
Yeah.
when we're doing it.
So you didn't fence it and try and rabbit-proof it that way? Or?
No, we did think about that, but
Yeah.
no,
Pretty
that was going to be
expensive.
pretty full on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to cop a little bit of grazing anyway, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So tell us about the people that are doing the hard yards. Who's putting in all the work?
Well,
Volunteers.
myself and Jim Hutton, who couldn't come today.
Right.
We work I go down every Saturday and every Thursday and help, and
Twice a week.
twice a week. Jim's there practically every day.
Right.
He just loves it down there.
Right.
We do that, and then we have our little band of volunteers that come on once a month. And that. I don't do Sundays at all. I take that as my day off.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's just basically we go down and we'll do mulching, weeding, whatever there is to do.
Right. So you've got a big pile of mulch.
Yes, we
What,
get
sawdust or something like that?
No, we get it from a
Tree chip.
tree chip. It's donated mulch. We get
Uh-huh.
whenever it's available. We don't get quite so much now,
Right.
but we did get it on a very regular basis. We had piles of it everywhere, and we
Right.
just load a trailer up and take it off and tip it down banks or scatter it along where it's required.
Right, and just wheelbarrow it around or
Yes,
something?
yes,
Right.
do it that way.
Are
Yes.
you putting it on top of newspaper or just straight on to the
Straight
soil?
onto the ground.
Right.
Some places we've got carpet laid, old carpet laid.
Right, how did you find that? Has that worked well?
Yes, it has worked well, but we've got to cover it straight away, otherwise the wind blows the carpet.
Yeah.
It's all trial and error, everything is trial and error.
Right. So there must be some expertise amongst the group by now after all these years.
Well, I would consider Jim would be our expert. He's
Right.
very, very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
There have been various people. Sorry, Ron.
Oh, yes, we do have, and then there's another couple, Margaret and John Heyman. They were initially involved, but they've
Right.
moved out of the district now, and they're very much involved with it.
They've been very helpful with the
Yes.
research, a lot of background research,
Right.
and they've helped everyone's helped to guide the vision.
Finding out what was there or what would do
A lot
well.
of that research was actually done by Michelle in the
Right.
beginning, so there was
Right.
the research phase for the
Yeah.
establishment started several years before the project started.
Right.
But people like Margaret, for example, and Jim have done a lot of research to look at plant establishment and weed management,
Right.
that sort of thing.
By checking out different techniques.
Different techniques,
things
yeah.
people have used. Right.
Yep.
And have you learned anything that you'd like to share with us about
Probably learned quite a bit.
what works and what doesn't?
I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
The benefits of a staged development against perhaps doing it all at once.
All big rush, yeah.
We should have probably done all the earthworks at once, for example, but we didn't have the money.
Right,
But it was really good doing the planting in stages because of the manageability of it.
right, yeah,
I learned huge amounts about project management.
right.
how to work with the council.
So you've actually added soil to the profile?
We haven't. No, we've had some quite difficult soil to deal with because it's been dumped.
Yeah.
You know, the old roads isn't such a good growing medium.
No,
but we use
not great.
No. And rubbish and things.
No, stones aren't good either. Yeah.
No, when you're up on the banks of the stones, but you just scratch around until you get enough dirt and use the dirt out of the pots and, and hope for the best.
Did you find you had to water a lot, or
we've put in irrigation.
Oh, you have.
Yeah.
Right.
We've debated whether to.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, we know we would have lost most of our plants if we hadn't, because that soil is it doesn't hold any moisture in summer.
No,
it just completely dries out. Yeah. So even with mulch, they'd die.
And even last winter was very dry, so even
Yep.
No, probably a good move. And how long has it taken really to get to this stage? Through all the development and design and
probably 8 years, but that's starting with the research phase. So from 2004 to now, it's more or less complete now as a functioning park. All the plantings are in. We've got a few projects for the future that might happen if we get the funds and if people want them. Like connecting to the rail trail, possibly.
Yes.
Toilets.
Oh, I suppose, yes.
That sort of thing.
It'd be a long ride though, wouldn't it, out through Prebbleton to get out to the lake?
The rail trail's going to go right through, not far from there apparently.
Oh, is it?
So it'll be a good opportunity
to
have some kind of connection there, because it's a really nice resting spot.
Yeah, nice table or something in a shady spot.
We've got tables and shade, and we're working on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds great. So tell us a little bit about when the planting days happen, how people find out about when they're on, things like that.
Well, our volunteer days are always the first weekend in the month from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. That's the sort of time, but you don't have to stay that long. You can stay longer.
Yeah.
That's always the first weekend in the month, but you can come along any time you like.
And that's sort of 9 o'clock start or something, is it?
Oh yes, we're retired hours.
Yeah.
we're not sticking to the clock, but we don't go much before 9.
Right.
Well, it's usually in the winter time it's a bit cold at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Anytime anybody wants to come along, they're very welcome to come along and help. We don't mind at all.
Right. And how people are using the place? We've already spoken about sort of shady resting spots.
Yeah, it's a passive recreation space, so it's not active. It hasn't got playgrounds or anything, but people come and walk and play and picnic. And Rona's probably seen a bit more of what happens.
Right. What about dogs and people bringing their dogs?
People bring their dogs.
They bring their dogs, but they do. Hopefully, they always have them on the lead.
Yeah.
But yes, dogs, and we have a lot of people just stop off on the way, passing, and they'll pull over and walk around just to have a quick look, and then they will come back and do it takes about a good 3/4 of an hour to walk around. If you're just walking around, not looking at plants. Different terrains. We've had a wedding couple come in and had their wedding photos taken in there.
Oh yeah.
And
there you go.
We children come in on their bikes and do their BMX biking up and down the hills.
Full business banks.
Yeah, which is good for them because the banks are not too steep and they can't hurt themselves.
Right.
It really is used quite a lot. We've had people using the picnic tables for picnics.
Right. Yeah.
It's getting quite well known.
Someone's photographed their car there, haven't they?
Yes, we had
a
gentleman come in one day and polished his car up and had it photographed, so it was obviously up for sale.
Right. And what's going to be happening in the future there?
I'll probably mention some of the things that we might have, a toilet and the connection to the rail trail. And,
yes.
There's a wetland planned at one end.
Oh, yes.
The site next door should possibly be developed into a subdivision.
Right.
And their stormwater runoff, plus some stormwater from beyond their site, should come into our wetland.
It'll hold there okay and stay
It's going to be engineered properly. Right. Yeah, someone's going to pay for that. Yeah. So we'll have a wetland feature, even though it won't have water in it all the time.
Yeah.
We'll have that, and it'll be an asset to the park.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been hoping to get water in there since day one, but it's a bit hard. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I imagine
engineering
water
issues.
will be a real problem out there.
There's nowhere for it to go once it's in there.
Right.
But this one would have a sump built in as part of it, probably.
So we have a natural pond come up in the winter.
Oh, you do?
And yes, we come up to about 1 metre deep in places. And that stays for about 3 or 4 months, doesn't it?
And we get chicks hatching on the edge of the lake.
Oh yeah, pukiko.
Pied stilts, ducks, squawk, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
It's working
been
well.
discovered then, isn't it?
It has by the wildlife. Yeah. And Jim has his kayak there every now and then. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. What other wildlife are you finding turning up?
We've got the skinks, common skink.
Right.
Apart from the rabbits, we've got all sorts of introduced birds. We've also got yellow hammer,
Right.
quail with chicks,
Yeah.
bellbirds, lots of bellbirds I've heard there,
Yeah.
fantails, finches, spear-winged plover,
Right.
most things actually,
Right.
magpies unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite rich in bird life and
And a few
obviously...
harriers cruising and
I'm not too sure actually.
No, haven't seen harriers, but we've had a native wood pigeon there.
That's right, yeah.
On the odd occasion.
Right.
But the birds just love for flaxes and that, so they'll come along for the flaxes.
And some of the trees will be starting to provide fruit and berries with those?
They certainly are on the coprosmas. Yeah, we should be getting a regular year-round supply of food, hopefully, because of the plant grouping that we've managed to get.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So, some advice for others starting to think about their own project.
Get the support of the council and the community board.
Are there any secrets to that?
Well, we've had people. I think Margaret was actually on the community board when the project started, so she got to hear about the project, and so she was able to also go on the volunteer group, and she was quite a driving force in getting that group together.
Right.
So involvement, I suppose.
Yeah.
There are always people like that who are keen and interested,
Yeah.
who are likely to be on the committee and perhaps on another committee as well. But making it open to the community, the locals.
Right.
That's the real thing, I think.
The one key.
Yeah.
Support
You can create a park and it can be nice, but it can really come alive if you've got a wonderful group of people really being involved.
Right.
Probably be more, once people now realise how well it's developed on that and they start moving through it, they appreciate it, and I think they'll hope that they'll show a wee bit more inclination to come and help in that. But it's fine, just not everybody's thing, climbing up and down banks.
No, not everyone. Oh, there's always a few. And any big learning curves, any mistakes that others shouldn't really repeat?
Not too sure, actually.
It's just really that some of the trees that we've lost, isn't it? It's been too exposed for them.
Right.
As was said before, the major escalation work should have been probably done a wee bit more.
Yeah, I probably mentioned a few things before, like perhaps doing the earthworks in one go. But we managed to learn just ahead of what we were doing.
Right.
So it kind of worked.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you're not going to fess up to any really big faux
No.
pas? All right.
I don't think there's anything too serious.
Right, well, I think we could just about sum it up, and you maybe go over contact details. And is there anything else you'd like to say that we haven't
Might just mention
covered?
where it is again, if anyone's looking for it. It's on the main road through Prebbleton, Springs Road.
Right.
Just on the south side.
Right.
It's called Prebbleton Nature Park. It's got signage and a car park. And
So it's through
look for
Prebbleton, heading down to Lincoln.
That's right.
And you're there.
On the right.
Pretty much
side.
on the right.
Right-hand side. All right.
Yeah.
Must go and have a look myself.
Have a good look and get down off the road because it's much quieter in the pit part of it.
Okay.
And have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.